What's going on, guys? Here's the coverage toolbox talking about formations and the coverages or strategies, adjustments I like to make to each one. All right, I'm going to start with just some of the quick adjustments, some of the basic ones. This is against 2x2. The intro, always I like to go over the actual problems that you see from each formation, so you're not just trying to stop one play, but we are going to use the mesh spot play to start. And I'm going to use cover 3 to start. Just remember, if you use 3 match or you use 3 sky, it's going to play very similar, right? And with the adjustments we make, we're going to end up making it almost the same. Okay, so when the teams come out in mesh, teams come out in 2x2 compressed. It could be a little tighter than this, it could be a little wider than this, but you have this type of element where you have 2 receivers that are close to each other, right? So on the left-hand side, you see Williams and St. Brown. They're within 5 yards of each other. And on the right-hand side, you have Patrick and Laporta, again, within 5 yards of each other or closer, okay? And that would be called what I would call a stack formation, okay? And then also on the right-hand side, we have Montgomery, and you can see where he's aligned. He's aligned outside, almost right behind the offensive tackle. And if you combine Montgomery with Laporta and Patrick on the right of screen, what I call this a bunch-like formation. It's no different if Montgomery was standing right next to Laporta on his inside left hip. Okay, that would be a bunch. And from there, what happens is you get a lot of bunch checks if you are playing certain defenses that's important to. But really, from a route standpoint, this mesh concept is very powerful because you have 2 underneath crossing routes. All right, we have Patrick's route with his shallow or drag in the Madden world, and you have St. Brown. And then because on this route, we also have Laporta working up and sitting down at about 10 to 15 yards over the ball, and he's going to basically be that vertical route that can carry coverage and push it vertically up the field. So what happens is you end up putting a bunch of players into a bind, and also that wheel route is there too. The first guy that's really in a bind just right off the bat is going to be our flat defender, right? So our flat defender right here is going to have to cover what? That wheel route that's heading out to the flat. He's going to get width, and what that's going to do is going to open up this first shallow route that's coming from St. Brown horizontally, and he can catch the ball right where Branch is probably standing right now, somewhere between the numbers and the hash. The other thing that could be a problem is that this player right here in cover 3, all right, he's going to be pushed up the field vertically with Laporta's over the ball route, which I call OTB route. And that route is going to make it hard for him to come down on St. Brown as well. So that whole area right now where St. Brown's running across the field is going to be pretty hard to cover with just the stock defense. And I know I have my controller on that guy, but stock defense wise, cover 3, it's going to be pretty easy to just throw that ball to that first crossing route in the progression. So you're learning this from an offensive point of view. You know, this is the route that you're probably going to get open more often than not. Now you also have the other crossing route coming across the field that could be a little bit of a problem. Now that route is running into a side where there's no real stress underneath, so the underneath defenders could play it a little bit better. All right. Now I'll go through some of my adjustments and then I'll talk about the rest of these routes, because some of these initial adjustments would actually open up some of the other routes, because right now stock, again, you can see the OTB route is being covered by the inside backers pretty well. And even the post and the wheel aren't as open as maybe, or the dig, I'm sorry, and the wheel, it's not as open as maybe some people would want. It would be a little bit cloudy, you know what I'm saying? So let's just talk about the first adjustment. We got to get rid of these drag routes. We got to get them, off the freaking screen, right? We got to make them go to their second read. So the very first adjustment, and I talked about this already, is to play underneath coverage, okay? We're going to take our entire defense, use our coverage adjustments, and go underneath, okay, to get the hard flats. But that also takes these hook curl defenders and makes them play hard underneath as well too. So let's just take a look at it, and then we'll go to the next step. So as we go through this, you can see how the 4 underneath defenders, okay, how they're all doing a really good job of actually taking care of these underneath routes. Take a look at it one more time. You see how they're taking care of the underneath routes? All right, so both of these drags are not going to get open in the first window, which is right pretty much around the hash. And they're also not going to get open in the second window, which is out towards the numbers, with just a simple underneath adjustment, okay? But you can say, hey, I noticed that there is somebody else open now. that over the ball route that's sitting over the ball at about like maybe 15 yards, 14 yards is wide open, right? Also, you could probably see the dig is pretty much wide open. Well, the next thing that we can do, okay, and this is probably how you would start it off, is that you're going to go underneath with your adjustments. So coverage adjustments, all right, then go down the right stick. Do the same thing again, coverage adjustments, but now you go inside coverage, okay? And like I had talked about on my YouTube channel already, that this is something that what happens is the inside backers get a lot smarter. So once they don't have any work underneath, they will start working, looking for work on that next level, on that kind of intermediate level. So watch the linebacker to the left here. He doesn't have any work. He kind of starts about 6 yards, right? Takes away the first part, and then he starts to work back towards that intermediate level, okay? The other linebacker doesn't have to worry about that so much, so he kind of just stays in that kind of 7-yard area, all right? So that's how it starts. Now, some people would say, well, then there's still that deep route. It's kind of open down the field. You know, I'm a little bit worried about how we're going to cover that. Just understand this, guys. We can't stop everything if you're going to play simulation football, all right? And also, I am not currently using anybody, so that will always be the last answer. If we're going to get them to go to their third or fourth read, most likely, you know, I'm going to have some answer for it with my user, all right? And in this case, you have to know how to play with different people. So if somebody was this advanced and getting to that last read, I'm going to probably be playing with the free safety, okay? And I'm going to drive down on that route. There's no reason for the safety to be backing up so far in the middle of the field, okay? So that would be the answer. But the main goal of defense is to take away the primary route and then also take away maybe the secondary option once you play better players. If you know that they're just going to throw deep dig routes or seam streaks, then maybe we wouldn't even be in this coverage to begin with. All right, so that's kind of the progression and how I think about playing defense. Okay, so that was part one. We're going to go to the next part here, which is talking about a different version of cover three buzz. Okay, we're going to talk about playing 3 buzz next, but before I move on, I just want to say that cover 3 sky or cover 3 with the rotation with the safety coming down playing the flat, it's going to be tough versus some of the vertical routes that you're going to see potentially out of that formation. If people are running floods and things like that, it's not the best coverage, all right? So just be aware that you might need to go to something else if you do get vertical concepts out of bunch, okay, or out of snug. 2x2 compressed. Okay, so let's talk about the idea of playing cover 3, but we're going to play it from a different perspective. All right, in the game, make sure that you find 3 buzz, okay? But you want to make sure that the buzz is a buzz that's coming from the weak side. So if you are using like a 3-4 playbook like I'm using right now, you're not going to get a lot of these. A lot of the buzzes come from the strong side in the 3-4 defense right now. So you might have to either find a custom or add in maybe, I think we have it also out of nickel. Just try to find it, all right? So nickel over, nickel wide will give you the buzz that I'm looking for. If you don't have it, you're going to end up having to flip your coverage. The best way to do this so that you can have the best players in the field would be come on and dime. Okay, and I'm going to call cover 3 buzz show 2 right now, which is a zone defense. And we're going to go against the same concept that we were just working against first, okay? So right now we have extra DBs on the field. We have an extra safety on the field playing linebacker. He's currently standing right here, okay? What we're going to end up here doing right now is just flipping this entire defense. I want to make sure that the buzz side is coming away from the passing strength. So away from the passing strength, even though there's 3 players on this side of the quarterback, is actually still over here because this is where the tight end is, all right? So the passing strength is over here to the left where the 2 wide receivers are, okay? That's how it works in football, how we denote who is the passing strength and who is not. So the left is the passing strength. We want to make sure the rotation's coming away from the passing strength. And what this does for us is gives us the same underneath coverages, but it's coming from a different angle. And the reason why that's important is because the timing of this route allows you to have this hook defender that I have highlighted get into that window where people like to throw the ball first. But since he's coming from about 14 yards away, it's going to sneak up on people naturally. All right. So let me just make the first adjustment just underneath. That's all I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to let the computer play this out, obviously, but throwing this ball in there becomes an interception more often than not because that underneath defender is disguised. He's coming from depth. This is a big part of all of our, cover 3 teams in the NFL today that play good defense usually uses some sort of buzz coverage. And you can see how most people won't even see that guy and he'll take care of that. Now, there's also another added benefit. I'm not using this player, which sometimes I will, but watch how he also gets into the window, right, of the potential over the ball route. So 17 is running that route where some people might try to seam streak this. They may hot route 17 and put him on a seam. Well, he gets into that window first and then clears down to the bottom window. So he's like taking care of 2 different windows at once. All right, so let's take a look at it again. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm actually going to use the full adjustment now of going underneath coverage and inside. I'm going to let the computer rock out, even though I think it's better if you user this. We'll talk about that next.